The Acolyte showrunner reveals Dave Filoni's involvement in making the series. The Lucasfilm CCO, so Chief Creative Officer, helped in making the series. And this is something that he has been doing. He was involved in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. He's involved in like all the production, like everyone goes to him. He was involved in the sequel discussions. Remember, the idea of the matriarchy subverting the patriarchy is just such a powerful idea. That's what this dude said in like 2016 in a room talking about the plans for the sequels after Force Awakens. Fans are wondering whether Filoni had any major involvement in making The Acolyte, considering it's disconnected. Oh, don't worry. But they're promoting them together all the time now, by the way.
Yes.
All of the fucking time. In an interview, Headland revealed Filoni was her mentor during the writing process of The Acolyte. The Lucasfilm CCO guided her on creation of the Witch Coven led by Mother Anastasia, as we've seen in the recent episode. Quote, Dave Filoni very quickly became kind of a mentor of mine in terms of navigating what this part of the timeline would be for both the Jedi and other Force users. It was kind of like this aha moment when he told me, you know, not all witches are Night Sitters, the showrunner shared. Now, and there are a lot of people that are, one, Dave Filoni absolutely involved in mentoring her, apparently, for the creation of The Acolyte. There are some people that are trying to make it out to be like Dave Filoni is the only reason we have witches in Star Wars now. That's just not the case. Witches have been around in Star Wars long before the Clone Wars. 1994 Courtship of Princess Leia novel went in depth in the Dathomiri. Not only Night Sisters, but also the other witches that aren't Night Sisters. That's kind of what Dave Filoni is referring to. But also even in the 1985 or 86 fucking Ewok movie, but had a Dathomiri witch.
But I would put now again, so you're talking about storytelling now at this point, because you can't assume, and this is what Disney Star Wars has done forever, you can't assume that people know all these small little stories. Like 95% of people that are watching this are people that only know the movies.
Correct.
They only know the movies. So when you're starting to tell these stories, you need to actually make people understand that this is something that's always been part of Star Wars. Because if you don't, then it feels like you're just expanding into something that's never been part of it. There's simple ways that you can introduce this by telling a story, but they pretend that everybody already knows it, and that's going to throw everybody for a loop, because if you only know the prequels and the original trilogy and you watch this and you know nothing about Clone Wars and nothing about the EU or nothing about you're going to go, what the fuck is this? When was this part of Star Wars?
Yeah, and so like as a result, I see, and people again want to blame a family member of Dave Filoni for something like this. I don't need to do that. This is something Dave Filoni has done historically, whether it's the Mandalorians, whether it's the Night Sisters, whether it's with Thrawn, whether it's with the Nogri, whether it's with clones. He takes these things that had happened before, that had stories that had been told before in the Star Wars universe, and they get incredibly bastardized. And so that's what's happening here, because the Night Sisters were not originally the only group of witches on Dathomir like got turned into in TCW. They were one of a group. They were like the evil clan, but there's a bunch of other clans of witches out there that were using the Force in a little bit different aspect that weren't the Night Sisters. And that's kind of my imagination, is what Dave Filoni was talking to Leslye Headland about. But this is just more evidence of, like we've been saying, and like a lot of people have caught on, Dave Filoni is not some dude who is just sitting there not having any input on anything. Even shows that he's doesn't get a producer credit for, things like that, he is involved in, whether it's Obi-Wan, whether it's this. He is integral to what they're doing and the stories they're deciding to tell, including yet another set of all-female witch coven. And this time they happen to be lesbians. That part was probably Leslye Headland's idea.
Well, again, it's what if you go back to the people years ago like me, and there's so many other people out there in the Star Wars fandom that hated the sequel trilogy, hated a lot of what's going on, and was like, realistically, you knew Dave Filoni was never going to become the president of Lucasfilm, because that's an executive job. That was never realistically what the hope was for him to be. The hope was for him to have creative control. Guess what? He has it. And look where it's taken us. So that's where people need to start realizing, like, you got what you wanted, you got what you asked for, and the result is this guy is even worse than what we already were having. That's my whole argument that I've been trying to make recently about it. And again, not talking to people like, Ryan or Raging Rhino or anybody like that. I'm talking to the people that the lot of the channels, and I'm not specifically people because he's calling Star Wars theory out. There's a lot of fucking people out there that I know, and I'm calling myself out on that front too. It's like I'm owning it. Like I called for this guy to be in this position too, and he's here, and he's terrible at it. And that's what people have to understand. He was never going to be president of Lucasfilm. That's not realistic. It was realistic for him to become creative controller, creative director, and he's there. And the result is the fucking Acolyte, which is the worst thing we've ever seen at Star Wars. What more do you need to know?
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to Star Wars theory, it's like, yeah, me and Maul are set on, star grift after star grift, trying to say, hey, I think this is why Dave Filoni's the wrong person for the job. Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. But I don't know if this has made him change his mind at all. Who fucking knows? But this is what everybody always wanted. Dave Filoni's got the job that everybody always wanted him to have, and this is the result.
There's nothing wrong with admitting you were wrong about something, okay? And I was wrong about thinking that Filoni was actually going to have any positive impact on Lucasfilm moving forward. I hoped, and I stand by the hope, and I stand by liking a lot of the stuff that he made. I don't change that at all, but you cannot justify what is going on right now. There is no way to justify this at all. This is, and again, just to watch it from a standpoint of eliminate like your, oh, well, maybe they're not space lesbians argument because there's people out there saying all this shit. Like eliminate all that. Like this is just a terrible fucking series. It's terrible.
Yeah, like all of that stuff is
even from a normie standpoint, it's terrible.
Yeah, and that's why I would encourage everybody to watch the EFAP minis that we're doing, where we're kind of going through the episode and pointing out a lot of stuff, because despite all the cringe, all the identity politics at play, that clear agenda that we've been talking about, from a basic writing standpoint and storytelling standpoint, the Acolyte is a failure, right? That's why we're seeing this backlash. It's not just because people are angry because there's black people and lesbians in it, right? If the storytelling was good and there happened to be black people and lesbians in it, you know what? It might get a little criticism, but it would not be like this. Okay.
Yeah.
This is because it's bad. Bottom line.
Flash, I got news for you. He ain't the guy either. All right. He ain't the guy either. Jon Favreau made The Lion King 2019. All right. One of the worst films ever created. Favreau ain't the guy either. Favreau is licking Kathleen Kennedy's boot just like Filoni does. Favreau's not the guy either. Favreau he's a system guy. He works with Disney. He does whatever they say he does, and that's fine. I'm not saying I dislike Jon Favreau.
I would be better with Favreau there than any of those other two choices. Just
yeah, but you can't, like, he works directly with Kathleen Kennedy. Clearly, he's gonna do whatever. Like, he wouldn't be in this position. We've already learned she'll fire a motherfucker if they step out of her vision of what she wants. She's fired more people than we can even think about at this point in time. But yeah,
I like how all those like reports of Jon Favreau's been fired by Kathleen Kennedy for stepping out of line have now changed to Jon Favreau is leaving after he's done with his movie 2 years from now. It's like, all right.
So is who's directing the fucking Mandalorian movie? Is it Filoni or Favreau? So it's Favreau. Yeah.
Filoni's got his own movie.
That's right.
I think the Filoni movie will be the wrap up for like the Mandoverse story. That's my guess. I think Mandalorian Grogu is going to be a repurposed script that they had for season 4 of The Mandalorian. And that's what they're going to like hard accelerate into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know there's no reason to put it on fucking Disney Plus. It doesn't make any money.